Hello everyone. So in this tutorial I'm going to explain how we are going to upload and download the images into database using Spring Boot and Spring Boot Data JPA. So for that we will create one Spring Boot APIs with REST APIs using the Spring Boot 3 we are going to create and Java 17 for uploading and downloading the image. So basically for doing so actually there is actually two approaches I will explain. So one is for first way is to like compress the data and store the data into the database, and the second approach is to store the direct images into the file system and store the file system path into the database. So Spring Boot upload image actually basically is one of the most commonly used feature while we are going to develop any kind of enterprise applications using the Spring Boot. So whenever we're going to upload or download this feature, we'll create like Spring Boot applications using the REST API. We can call another service which is basically responsible to doing all the operations. So we'll cover this first approach in this tutorial. Okay, so just for keeping this application very simple, so as a database I'm use the is2 in-memory database instead of like a real database like MySQL, Oracle. So whenever we are going to use this particular applications in a real situation, then maybe instead of the is2 databases we can use any databases basically like Oracle or MySQL, whatever actually basically is need, right? So based per our need we are going to use, but just to for demo purpose or just keeping all the things very simple, we are going to use the HTML database, right? Okay, so we are going to create this project step by step. Like first we are going to create a Spring Boot project. As you know, the Spring Boot project can be you can manually create, or maybe Spring Boot initializer. There is a one website, from there we can easily create. We can provide the name and the artifacts. So I will show you like how we are going to create those things. It is very simple, and from there we can also like choose all the dependencies, that whatever the dependencies we are going to use. So for creating this application basically we are going to use like we need to create one controller, and then we need the database also, like Lombok is basically used to for like generating, means instead of means we don't need to write the getter and setter method inside of the DTOs. We can easily use some kind of annotation so that it will remove all the boilerplate code. So first, right, so let's create this project, and then like I will create those step wise, like how we are going to storing the data, this particular data into the database. Okay, so let's create the project first. So I have created this project from the Spring Boot initializer. So like from there we can easily create those projects very easily. Like we just need to provide all the things like artifact name, then description, and then like we need to provide what kind of Java version we need to use, what is the version of the Spring Boot. So as a Spring Boot version I'm going to use this Spring version 3.1.2, and then like Java version is 17. With that we have used this data JPA, Spring Boot starter web for creating the controller. This is DevTools is for the development purpose only, and as a database we used is2 database, in-memory database. Okay, so these are the like dependencies that I have used. Okay, so next for creating like this project, actually what do we need? We need to like create first the like dependence, means dependence we have already declared over here. Next we need to create the controller, right? So let's create the controller. For means we need to going to create two endpoints, which is basically they store the data into the DB, and the next one actually basically get the file names from the DB, right? So let's create another package which is will basically is a controller, and here we are going to create one class like files controller maybe, or whatever you feel like you can give. Okay, so it's created. Now we are going to annotate it as a REST controller. REST controller, and here also we are going to provide the request mapping. Okay, so let's say it's API. Okay, next here we are going to create two APIs. One is like for upload the image, right? So public void store files into DB, for example. Okay, so for the files actually, the type of this means, suppose if we're going to pass any string as a parameter, then we are providing as a string. Suppose we are passing as integer, then integer. But for the file actually, we need to provide the multi-part. Okay, so we need to provide as a request param. It will be used as a request param, not mapping. Request param, and here we can provide the like what will be the name, like files, file, and here multi-part. Okay, file. Okay, next what you need to do, we need to actually, we will going to create one service. So this particular service basically responsible to doing all the operations. So let's create another package and call this service. So here okay, we are going to create another class. So let's say what would be the name, files service. Okay, now we need to annotate it with service annotation. Okay, public void store file. Okay, and it is taking this multi-part file. Okay, file. Now okay, so before that also we need to create one entity actually also, so that we need to set the data into this entity, right? So we can create another package. Okay, for example, the entity name is kind of what we can say, it's a file data, or what you can say, we can say maybe let it files. Okay, okay, now we need to annotate this with as a entity. Next we need to provide also getter, setter, next all argument constructor, next no argument constructor. Okay, so this is done now. Now actually, okay, we need to provide the builder so that we can use the builder things for this one. Okay, now here actually for these files actually we need to provide some fields kind of name, right? So what we can provide over here, like first is the ID, long ID. Okay, it will be a ID of the database. Okay, and it will be a generated value, means auto generation. Okay, strategy equal to generation type dot identity. Okay, next we can provide the name, next type, what type of file it is, and next we can provide like we can the path that we can also write, or maybe we need to store the image actually. Okay, we need to store the image. So for that, uh, we need to store the image as a byte array. Okay, image data. So we can store this one as a like byte array, and for this we don't need to store the file path. Okay, because we are going to store the image into the database, so we don't need to store this one. So image data is there. uh, so what is the type of this one? Like it will be a lob, right? It will be a lob file, so we need to provide this lob. We need to annotate it lob. Okay, so this is done now. Okay, now we are going to means write something over here. Means we need to prepare the image data, right? Okay, we need to prepare the file actually. Files equal to another things we need to create over here. Actually we need to create another repository which actually basically uh, like save the data into the database. Okay, so we need to create another interface, for example file repository. Okay, and we need to extends JPA repository. Okay, and here actually it will be a files and ID is long. Okay, and here actually we need to, okay, so for saving the data actually we need to use this repository AutoWord private okay. Okay, so here dot we need to build this thing actually. Okay, means build the data for these files. Okay, dot set, sorry, dot name. So we need to get the name from this file, get original file name, dot type file dot get content type, and then we need to set the bytes. Okay, so name type and image data. Okay, so here file dot get bytes. Okay, okay, so this will return us actually the file. Okay, means we are preparing the data over here. Okay, now what we are going to do over here, we are just going to file repository dot save files. Okay, so now we are going to check if this is successfully done. Then we are going to means, okay, now we are going to check this particular file should not be empty, right? Or maybe after saving the data into the database, it okay, it will throw exception. That's fine. If files dot get id means it should not be not null, because once the data saved into the database, then we can say the data is saved successfully. We can say like file uploaded successfully into database. That particular string we are going to return from here. Okay, change the return type of string, and from here we are going to return null. So this method is done now. Okay, what we are doing over here means we are just we are sending this input file over here, multi-part file here, and then accordingly we are setting the data like name, type, and the data image data means whatever the bytes we are getting from there. So we are not actually compressing the data over here, means whatever the data you are getting from there, we are just storing into the database. We can also like compress this one. So for the compressing things we need to write some logic, so that also we can do, but let's try to run this one. If it is causing some issues, then maybe we can't write the compression or decompression logic. Okay, so this is the things for the time being. Next, like okay, so here actually we need to auto this service. Okay, private file service store file. Okay, and we just need to return these things, right? Upload response. Okay, okay, next we need to return this one. Okay, so return response entity dot status. We need to pass return the HTTP status as okay. Dot okay, and then in a body actually, or maybe we can also okay, then in a body we need to pass this response message. Okay, and we need to change the return type as response of string. It will be a post mapping. Okay, and here also we need to like pass the path. Okay, so this is done for the upload data into SEP. So what we have done over here, we have created one API in the controller file, and we are using as a request param multi-part file, because for image we need to use this one. And then here we have written one service layer in the created one which will basically store the data into the database. So what we are doing, we have created one entity as a files, and here we are setting name, type, and the image data as a bytes, and after build it will set return as this one. And so once we are saving the data, so for saving the data we have created one repository. It will exchange as JPA repository, and then after saving the data it will return us the ID, If this ID is not null, then we are showing like data file uploaded is successfully done and it is stored into the database. Else we are returning null. So next what we are going to do, we are going to whatever the data we have saved into the database, we are going to fetch the same data so that we can view, right? So we need to create another means method, we can say API, another API which will get image. Okay. Okay. So here actually in the service layer we are going to write another method actually who will basically search data from the database. So public void get image or get files. Okay. So in a input what it needs actually file name. Okay. So in a repository actually we need to create another method actually which will basically search data by name. So for that we need to create one method find by name, and here we need to pass the name as an input parameter. Okay. So what it will return, it will return actually files. Okay. Okay. So using the repository dot find by name, and here we need to pass this file name. So then actually basically we can return this data directly. Dot what we need to get image data. Okay. So this byte data we need to return from over here. Okay. So suppose if we are going to write any kind of the compression logic, so suppose while we are putting data into the database, so if we are like storing data in a some way like so that it will compress the data. So in type of the in case of the whenever we are getting the data means trying to fetch data from the database, so we need to same write the decompression logic. Okay. So this is done for the get, and now we need to like use this service. Using the service we need to get file. Okay. And here actually in a request we need to pass as a file name. Okay. This file name we need to pass over here. Okay. So it will basically return us some byte array. Okay. Now we need to return this. So how we are going to return this one? Like return response entity, and again we need to like instead of this we need to pass the status and http status as okay, and then actually we need to convert means we need to set the content type. Like so as we are returning this means if we are going to store the data as a image, so we need to set the content type as image, or if it is any other type then we need to set this content type accordingly. So as I'm going to store this one as a like image, so that's why I'm setting as a image or png. Okay. Okay. Next in the body we need to pass this image data. Okay. So we need to change the return type of this byte array. Okay. So this is done now, and we need to provide the get mapping over here like get file name, and we need to use this path variable. So what we did for this one getter one, so this is basically used to get the data from the database. So what for this, what we need to need the file name. So meaning like whatever the data we are actually storing over here, so for that we need to like here actually we are saving the data into the database as a file name. So for getting the data we need the file name, and then based on the file name we are using this repository, we are fetching this. So for that we have created one like another method which will basically search by the name, and accordingly it will return us the data, and accordingly from here we are return the only the image data, which is basically byte array, and then in a response of this byte array as it will be showing as an image. Okay, so this is done now. Now let's start this program. Okay, and one more things, as a database I was using the h2 database, so whenever we're going to start this one, so we can check this. So this is a db name, okay, files db. So it will actually store the data in this database. Okay, now run this program. It will not take more time. h2 console available at this one jpa. Okay, it is saying okay already in use. Okay, let's try to run again. Okay, started now, right? Now once this is started, then we can see like this is the means we can connect the h2 db. Okay, so you can see this is the table is already created, means here. So currently no data is here. So once this means up, so we can like using this API we can store data into the like database, right? So let's try to hit this one. So in the postman, like I have already like uh, means settings this API, and here also as a files in the body as is a post request. So in the body actually you need to set the type as a file. So you can here you can as a text or file you need to choose. So we have chosen the file because we are going to upload the file, and here from here actually we are going to select the path that which image you are going to upload. So that path already I have selected. Okay, so now if I send this one, so it will actually basically okay, you can see the file uploaded successfully into database, and we are also getting the 200 okay response. Now if we are going to check the data into the database, so it should be stored over here. So as you can see, it stored the name, type, and the image data as well as. So what is the name? The name is test underscore image and dot p. It's a png file, and also it's storing the byte data, like byte array is a image data. So it's a log kind of thing. Okay, so if you explore this one image data, so it's a binary bl means log kind of object. Okay, because it's showing the lots of data. Now similar method, if we are trying to get the data, so for that we are having this API get file by name. So if we checked over here get file by name, and here actually as a path variable we need to pass the file name. So file name, so for this whatever the data we are saving over here, so file name is test underscore image dot png. So the same name we need to pass over here. So that actually is a pass over here, and it is a get method. So now if we are going to send this one, so this is the image, okay, the test image that I have uploaded actually. Okay, in a response we are getting the 200. Okay, so this is the like approach for saving the data into the database, and similar fashion we are also get the data from the database. So that's all, means this is, as you can see, this is a very kind of simple kind of things. So we have just created one project and do some kind of little bit of implementation of it. So that's all about this one, like how we are going to store the any files into the database, and similar fashion we can also get the data. If you guys have anything, please do let me know in the comment sections. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.